My first cartoonist, my first banned cartoonist, banned fiction. You can now not even talk about fake things that happen in the future with cartoons because that could get people to do things that the powers that be, TPTB. That's what I'm going to start saying. Do not want us to do. Ken Avidor is here, the producer of Unjabbed, and I'll let your imaginations decide what that is about. But we're gonna watch these in the other platforms. I'm gonna give everybody a heads up on YouTube. This is gonna be a shortened stream, but still good because Ken's gonna first walk us through why Vimeo felt like Unjabbed was too harmful to stay on Vimeo. So, Ken, welcome. And could you tell us why Vimeo removed your video when it still lives on YouTube, which is blowing my mind? But yeah, what they say? What was so harmful about this? And I'll play a little bit of the screen. Not going to play the audio, but I'll play a little bit while you're talking.
Oh, thanks for having me on your show. I really, really love the show, and I hope everyone looks at the old episodes. Uh, what happened is I tell stories. I like to tell stories, and I like to draw pictures, and I put them together and make videos. And and I pay for Vimeo's account because it's a good platform, and they wouldn't let me put my series Unjabbed on because they claimed it was, in their words, um, well, perpetuates false, misleading health-related information and hoax and that sort of thing. But the usual things. But the problem is that my story is fiction. It's not fact, and it clearly states so in the disclaimer. There's like odd, weird things, like what you're seeing now is a landscape that does not exist now. Uh, it's science fiction.
Yeah.
It's so absurd, and that's really the whole point. For me, what I want to tell your listeners is that this authoritarian regime that we have now, and it's a combination of big tech and the government telling big tech what to do, is there's a point where they cross a line, and the line here is the line of absurdity. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't save anyone's life to get rid of my stories. If anything, they did me a favor because it's sort of like the Streisand effect, where you tell somebody not to do something, and of course, everybody wants to see it. They want to see the thing that they tell you not to see.
Mhm.
Wh-
For example, okay, what's this illustration here?
Well, it's my interpretation. I like to have fun with mechanical things, and that's supposed to be a health department drone. First of all, health departments don't have drones factually. Well, not yet,
That
anyways.
we know.
Uh, but I wanted to make it more interesting, more malevolent. It's science fiction. So, have some fun with it, right? So, if anyone thinks that that's a real thing that's coming after you, um, do I have to tell you that that thing is nothing to be worried about? It's fiction, but that's Vimeo. They believe fact is fiction and fiction is fact, I guess. So that's where we are now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So so they tell you it's harmful misinformation. Of course, like you said, I mean, we're looking at something that is not real and it's also not even something that we necessarily know could be real right now.
It's
Maybe it is, but we just haven't gotten the public records request yet. Maybe that's something that they know about, Ken. Maybe that's why you got banned. It's like,
well,
how did you know?
well, I think with the whole transhumanism thing, maybe the space between my ears is completely hacked by the NSA, so that anything I dream up becomes real, which makes me really. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am a dangerous person. I don't know. But there are 5 episodes of this so far. YouTube has not taken them down yet, but you can also find them on Rumble, and you can also find them on other platforms. People download it and put them on platforms I never heard of, and I'm really grateful because once they start taking these down, uh, that's like to see it on YouTube. It's a good platform, but they've been very, very what's the word, punitive and I don't have to tell you that. And people who watch your show here will know that there's people far more worthy than I am. They deal in facts, doctors. You had some great people on, and I think that's terrible. But I do fiction. And that's the absurd line.
Do you think, though, in a weird way, that fiction sometimes is more of a concern for those who might not want your imagination to connect with what's really going on? Like, there's something about fiction, I guess, that I don't know. It allows people to imagine, right? That's the whole point of it, and maybe that's what's so dangerous for the folks who are censoring this stuff, because they don't want you to imagine these possibilities, because it might cause you to take some action that in reality that you wouldn't otherwise do. Why do you think fiction sometimes is of concern? Because you're not the first person to deal in fiction who, centuries people have dealt with this, right? It's not like you're the first person to concern those that are concerned about all this. What's up with that?
Well, I've had a YouTube. I had a YouTube account that was taken down because of copyright violations, but that's in the past. So I decided I'm going to do everything in fictional and everything be produced by myself, for the very reason that in totalitarian countries, that's all you're allowed to do. So you do stuff that vague, like in the Soviet Union, people would do a vague story that sounded sort of, there was a character that was like Stalin, and of course they get thrown into prison for it. That's how you know if it's an authoritarian regime, because for them everything is threatening, even a fictional account. Fiction should be without any restrictions, in my opinion. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I actually think that people should be able to yell fire in a crowded theater. Uh, but I think that fiction is can tell you much more about something, because it can go way beyond, like Orwell's 1984, Animal Farm, goes way beyond whatever is happening. There used to be a phrase that movie companies used when they did ads. They'd say, torn from today's headlines. In other words, use the elements of stories of things that people are concerned about, like nuclear war was, when I was growing up a long time ago, nuclear war was something everyone was concerned about. There's always a possibility, just like today. Um, and so there were many movies where monsters were created by uh, radiation. You had giant ants, or Godzilla. All you had to say was, "Oh, well, this monster was caused by radiation." Everybody goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But by the standards that Vimeo has stated, is that if you use radiation's used in chemotherapy, I mean, cancer therapy. So maybe we should ban all those movies where radiation causes monsters, or Frankenstein. Um, Frankenstein is the monsters created by organ transplant, and I don't have to tell anybody this, but organ transplant is generally considered a good thing. Kidneys are transplanted every day. Should we like forbid Frankenstein being shown because it might scare somebody that they won't get a kidney transplant? No, of course not. Everybody knows the difference between fiction and fact, and the fact that there's some facts in the fiction doesn't mean it's fact. It doesn't become fact, uh, and that's pretty much the distinction between. It's why we have disclosures on films that say nobody in this film is living or it's not, it's just coincidental. But everybody knows that in Citizen Kane, it's you know it's William Randolph Hearst, and there was a lawsuit where William Randolph Hearst said, "That's me. Charles Foster Kane is me," and Orson Welles said, "No, no, it's just elements that are like you and other media moguls, but it's not
A
not
media
you."
mogul.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, that's sort of, and I've been sued for defamation, so I'm very, very careful to let everybody know that everything that I do now is fiction, and that should be safe from the censors. And in this instance, it's not. And I, I, I hope that YouTube sees the difference between. I'm not advocating anything. I'm not calling people out to do anything in my video because, for one thing, it's in the future, and there's absurd, ridiculous things in there like the drones. And if you watch all the episodes, it gets more and more bizarre. And yet, people who leave comments, they say, "Whoa, this is going to happen!" Like, and I can't help that. But for the record, everything in my videos is fiction.
Yeah, it's so odd. I mean, I think you are the first person that I've had on, you're right, who is not necessarily talking fact, but is I don't want to say it's not completely fictional in the sense that there's a little bit of, unfortunately, there's a little bit of reality to it, because like if I go back to your if I go back to the video real fast, this screenshot here, this illustration. I mean, okay, explain what this is, and then I'll give you my little take on this one.
Well, it certainly looks a lot like things that happen now, but there is no health force that breaks down doors, as far as I know. That's my invention. He's wearing body armor, which is sometimes you see that. The Vax team, I haven't. If anybody has seen an actual Vax team, other than maybe in China
Mhm.
or
But
Australia.
but here's like but here's where it kind of touches on their nerve, I think, because this is, I think, how people feel. People feel like someone is breaking down their door and forcing things on them because they will lose their job or their ability to go to their kids' school. Uh, all kinds of things have been taken away. So there is a brute force to what I think people have witnessed and undergone over the last couple of years that, I mean, it does feel like this for a lot of people, and so maybe that's why, because unfortunately they're probably too delusional or at least ignorant or egotistical to know, but the people who find this harmful, I think maybe subconsciously they understand that this is what people feel like, and they don't want you to encourage this feeling anymore. They want people to feel like, no, that's not what's happening. We're just doing this to help you. We're not forcing our way in with body armor.
Well, that has been that's at the core of all censorship, particularly of fiction. Is that, like, for instance, people may remember the old. There have been attempts to censor everything forever, and maybe they remember Tipper Gore saying that that rap music is causing people to go out and kill other people, or
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
there's a book called the Turner Diaries, and oh well, let's not forget uh, the Catcher in the Rye. Do you remember
Right.
that?
Yeah, oh
Uh,
yeah.
every serial killer's favorite book, Catcher in the Rye, which we all read in high school. Did we all go out and kill people? No, no. It's the connection between, and is it, can they really say for certain that that I am promoting violence or that sort of thing? They should take a look at some Hollywood movies um, where there's just the body count is just incredible. Hey, Shakespeare had, watch Hamlet.
Yeah.
Everybody dies.
I think
Um,
that's a good point too, because like at the end of that cartoon, which like I said, we're in a second, we're gonna cut this stream on YouTube, but we'll be on ROKFIN and Rumble Live, and we'll play that in its entirety. It does end with a scene that like you're describing, but you're right. Yeah, why does like Hollywood get to show that kind of stuff, fake stuff, and you can't? I don't know. It's
well,
well, you know what's not fake though, Ken? Before you answer that, you know what's not fake is AllisonWinePromo.com. These are real wines, and they will taste really good. And I'm sure that they pair really well with banned cartoons. I mean, if you're sitting back and you're like, I want to see more of Ken's stuff, and I just want to sit back and chill while I watch somebody with body armor and the Vax team force their way into my house, I'm going to have a high altitude Malbec. And I just got my new booklet on the wines from the wine club, telling me some more background information on them, which I didn't know. So they're all technically extreme altitude Malbecs, and some have never been imported to the US before. They're very unique, and they're from some of the most remote regions of the world. I didn't even realize how remote, but we're talking like in the middle of freaking nowhere, like where I would love to live, and very high altitude too, which affects the flavor and also means fewer pesticides, a lot cleaner production, some hand-picked grapes, natural fermentation, and you can support my work while you're at it. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com, get 50% off some amazing wines and 50% off shipping. It's a great way to support my work if you're already a wine drinker. If you drink coffee, however, you can go to TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison. You get 10% off your first order. They've got light roast. They've got dark roast. If you're planning on buying an espresso machine for Christmas, which I just asked my mom for, they do have espresso right here. So, and go ask your mom for an espresso machine, and then go ask her to go to TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison, get you some espresso to go with it. Okay. These are USDA certified organic. They're also high altitude. It's a small, family owned company in Nicaragua. The owner actually is American, but they live down there, and he used to write for like cigar outlets. He was a cigar aficionado and started a coffee company to kind of pair with his love of cigars. So there's also actually a cigar number one, which I drink quite a bit in the morning. It's a dark roast, but they've got a lot of medium roast. If you like medium roast, somebody told me dark roasts are not what the coffee aficionado really drinks, that the nuances are in the medium roast. I don't particularly love medium roast, but if that's your thing, they've got it too. And don't forget, there's also a tea, Katura tea, which is tea made from the coffee fruit. So thank you everybody for supporting my work. Ken, any final thoughts before we go full throttle on the other platforms for people on YouTube? Besides the fact that they can get, you have a YouTube channel. Okay. So I'm going to show that right now. So everybody can go over to YouTube and watch these while they're there. Limited edition. We'll see how long they last. And how else can they support your work, or where should they find you?
They can find me on Rumble and other platforms. And like I said, if people want to download this and share, I'm not a big copyright fan, so go for it.
Okay. Any final thoughts on the topic before we go?
So I think it's important for me to let people know that a great American tradition is in our culture, literature, film, is the anti-hero who thinks like Huck Finn was thought of himself as a bad person. And so he was this bad person who did this very bad thing, which was helping Jim, the slave, to freedom. That's the whole irony, and it's what's wonderful about America is that we don't say for the last 2.5 years, what we've been told is that if you stand on this dot, you're a good person. So I'm not a good person. So if anybody out there wants to start Googling me, they never heard of me before, and they want to find out something bad about me, I own it because I am a bad person. I have bad thoughts. Between these 2 years, I have really bad thoughts, and I put them on paper, and I put them on the web, and you can enjoy them. My very bad thoughts.
Very bad thoughts. Well, I think people are just people, not good or bad. But I'll let you, if that's how you want to look at it. I would call you maybe yeah, you said anti-hero. I don't think that's bad. Sometimes the anti-hero is the real hero. It's the person who thinks they're a hero that may turn out to be the
Do you remember
tyrant.
remember in Casablanca where
You're gonna die that I've never seen Casablanca.
well, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But in the beginning, Humphrey Bogart is this very, very much an American anti-hero icon. He says, they ask him, "What is your nationality?" And he says, "I'm a drunkard."
That's what my granddad probably would have said back in
And
the
it's
day.
I'm not spoiling it, but by the end of
That's
the movie,
funny.
this person who has no regard for himself, thinks he's a terrible person, ends up doing an awesome thing.
Yeah.
And
I
that's, I think I'm with you on this, but I say that if you want to inoculate yourself against being that wrong person in the Milgram experiment, who zaps the people, just think of yourself as a bad person who sometimes does good things.
There you go. Well, but there's a lot of truth to that, because I've said many times when talking to people who have been censored or ostracized from their professions for wrongthink, that there is concern when you run into somebody who thinks that they can never do anything wrong. They're not able to be deceived. Like, if you can just start there, that you are capable of being deceived, you're a human just like everybody else. That's why I don't want to control people's speech and I focus on censorship, because I wouldn't want that kind of power. And I think we should question people who do want that power, who think that they're going to get everything right, such that they should have the control to dictate what people say. Like, I would never want that, because I would get it wrong. I would get it wrong, and then I would lead us down some kind of terrible path. And I would rather not have that power and allow the false information and the true information to coexist, because I would be concerned that at some point, since I'm fallible, I'm a human being, I would censor the right information thinking that it was the wrong information, because that's what humans do. We're not omniscient. I want to say thank you to Master Malrubius for the milk for the producers. Thank you. And also for that means Rick is a citizen of the world. And Allison, you need to see it. Wonderful film. Yeah, I need to see it. And then I also got this one about Bill Gates, but I'm going to read it on the other platforms. I'll let you guys see it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching on YouTube, and we'll see you over on the other